Viewers, you have met this gentleman before. He had an amazing debut on our channel, and he's back today to share his thoughts on Ayushman Bharat, the implementation, how things need to improve in this as India grapples with coronavirus. Welcome, Nanda Kumar. Nanda,
Thank you.
welcome to
Thank you. Thank you very much. Pleasure always to be with you.
PGurus. So, Nandu, I'm sorry if I can take the liberty of calling you Nandu because we've grown up together.
No, that's how everybody calls me. That's how
Sent
everybody calls me.
Oh, great, great, great. So you won't feel bad, offended. All right. So Nandu, here is the thing. Ayushman Bharat on paper is an excellent scheme, and it guarantees health care for many, many people who would otherwise perhaps not be able to avail of this. However, is the system now getting overwhelmed? One. Second, is the system being is the system ripping off people because there are so many things that are required to admit COVID patients now? What are your thoughts on this?
See, before we evaluate anything, first let us discuss the context. It is now nearly 74 years old independence, and we still don't have a hospital in every district, good government hospital in every district. Let us understand why the need for Ayushman Bharat and all these things came up. The need for the Ayushman Bharat scheme came up because of inadequate medical facility in the country. We have about 735 districts, and in 74 years, we could not set up one government good hospital in each of these districts. Are we short of money? Are we short of talent? India possibly produces most medical graduates in the world every year. There is no dearth of talent. So it has all been concentration of people in the urban centers, and medicine, which was a noble profession, has become a business. So therefore, the intervention of government in the form of Ayushman Bharat and all these things have to come. Is it not? Now, just take Corona. Let's evaluate our very good response. The government, the Prime Minister made a call to the medical fraternity in India. You see, when we are met with a crisis, we try to arouse the feeling of social service, national feeling, and all that. You clap for the doctors, you clap for the medical fraternity, and doing all these things. Why don't we engage them throughout in serving our nation? Why don't we engage them throughout? See, in the context today that we have, can we imagine a situation where only government-run hospitals can meet with the need for the service that is required to deal with Corona? It is impossible. If it was just government hospitals, you see the condition in Delhi, you see the condition in Bombay. So therefore, the context is that over 70 years, we should have had much better medical facility in each district. Engaging the people. Can we do any service in India without engaging the people of India? You tell me. Can anything be fruitful in India without engaging the people of India? Now, no. Prime Minister made a fantastic call of Swachh Bharat. Who made Swachh Bharat successful? Government officers made Swachh Bharat successful. Public sector institutions made them successful. It is the people who are making it successful. Anything has to become a movement. So therefore, medical facility also, to be able to reach out, must be a people's movement. It has to be a people's movement. And there has to be a very suitable people and government partnership. Government should do what is easy for government. People should do what is easy for people. If that kind of a partnership is done, I think this Ayushman Bharat will possibly be the single largest beneficial scheme in the world. It will become a model possibly for any country in the world to follow. Any country in the world to follow. As I've written in my paper, you can see.
Well, okay, so let us fast forward to what is happening now. There are lots of grumblings, and I'm sorry to play the devil's advocate here. There are lots of grumblings about how much money people have to give to just get admitted. And I think this is not the government hospitals, this is the private hospitals. Although the Supreme Court has said that COVID patients have to be treated free. I don't know if it is free or is there a certain limit that they're not supposed to expand. Taking the current situation into perspective, now, one of the biggest challenges of COVID treatment is ventilators. You have to allow people to be able to breathe. And until they come out of that stage, you get into that stage, you need a ventilator. And if the person is not supplied a ventilator at that time, chances are that person won't survive that particular phase. And usually that's where death occurs. How is it playing out today in terms of what is happening with the COVID treatments?
You see, COVID is not a problem like some disease caused by cholesterol, heart attack,
True.
Cancer, smoking. COVID is something which came and which fell on us, on innocent citizens of this country who did nothing to invite COVID on themselves. So it is the responsibility of the society, the government, the nation to rise up to the occasion and take care of its citizens. If somebody is charging for COVID treatment, it is immoral, I'm telling you, basically. Now, Supreme Court also has correctly said that they should do free testing and all that. So, the basic issue is in COVID treatment, private hospitals in Bombay, in Delhi are asking at Madras, are asking a deposit of 15 lakh rupees from people who are coming to be admitted. Otherwise, they say no bed. Now tell me, an ordinary middle class person, where would he go to mobilize 15 lakh rupees to deposit? You tell me, where would he go to deposit 15 lakh rupees? So it is impossible. So these are the things that government should have, if of its own. Now whenever you take a beautiful example of dairy. So dairy in India has got cooperatives, it has got private dairy also. So the government keeps a check on the milk procurement price, not allow the farmers to be exploited. It does not allow the price to go down below a particular point, and it does not allow the price of the milk to be overcharged in the market. So Amul is there, Nandini is there, Avin is there, Vijaya Dairy is there. So whenever they want to regulate, the government intervenes. The government increases the procurement price of milk. If they want to better the farmers, the government keeps a check on the milk price. So you have to have a similar system to keep a check on the private hospitals. Where is the check? The government doesn't have adequate infrastructure. So we are at the mercy of the private hospitals who exploit the situation. Even more pathetic, what I heard is in Delhi and Bombay, COVID patients who die, their bodies are not allowed to be cremated in the same crematorium as the normal death, where normal death happens. So there is a long queue for the special crematorium where COVID patients are supposed to die, and there is a long procedure. People are paying 1 lakh rupees to get a COVID negative report so that the bodies can be cremated in the ordinary crematorium. Now you can imagine where we are, in such a situation. So the people of this country are also so gentle, so nice that they have over a period of time begin to accept any omission or commission by the government. It's become our mental state. There was a wonderful movie called Bobbili Puli of N.T. Ramarao. You remember?
I think so. Yeah.
That movie made him the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh in 1983. In that movie, he makes a very powerful dialogue. He says, Muriki kalva pakkana jeevinche vaallallo aa vasana jeerninchipotundi. That means what he said, कीचड़ के बाजू जो जीते हैं उनमें वो बदबू जीर्ण हो जाता है. That means the stink is ingrained in the people who are living next to
yeah.
That's all. So, like that, the stink of inefficiency of the government has sunk into our head that we don't expect anything at all. So otherwise, to pay 1 lakh rupees to get a certificate for a body, and there is not enough crematorium to do this, is a thing. And secondly, you mentioned about ventilators. In a city like Bombay, there are only 100 ambulances. And recently, it was in the news that for a 300 meters drive, an ambulance charged 8,000 rupees. And the whole of India, you have 1,800 ventilators, that's all. I don't understand. When you give a license to a hospital, don't you stipulate that you must have so many beds, you must have so many ICU beds, and if there are so many ICU beds or so many beds, you must have so many ventilators and so much of this equipment. Don't you specify? We write software and all that for the whole world, but not for ours. Is it possible, not possible to monitor this small thing? Somehow, somewhere, some disconnect is there. That's all. It's a disconnect, I would say.
Well, if you Modi has entered a deal with the United States and he has bought a lot of those ventilators, and I believe now you will start seeing them stocked up. Now, moving forward, Ayushman Bharat guarantees free treatment for all ailments, or how is that in practice? How does it work?
See, Ayushman Bharat gives out a list of ailments, and they put a financial cap. Okay. Now, I look at it from the government's perspective. How can I maximize the utility of this with the budget that I have every year possibly? If you go to any private hospital, they will, only have a tendency to exaggerate the bill, they increase the bill, inflate the bill, whatever it is you may call it. So first of all, make medical facility available across the country. Make one hospital in every district, Ayushman Bharat hospital itself. Why don't we involve the private doctors? The government can own the hospital and give it on private management contract to the doctors from the respective districts. They will all love to be in their districts. So today, what is the biggest impediment in expanding the medical facilities available in the country? It is initial capital expenditure that the hospital will want. Every hospital will want building, land, then the equipment, whatever it is. Manpower cost is not a big cost. That is working capital. And paying salaries to doctors and nurses is not a very big this thing. Suppose if the government were to build one Ayushman Bharat hospital to start with a 50 bed or a 100 bed, whatever that the government thinks, hands it over to the local doctors, on a management contract. It lays down a rate card. You cannot charge more than this. You cannot charge more than this for any of these ailments which you can treat. And all the hospitals in each of the districts in this country, 735 districts assume, are connected online. The government from the state headquarters and the central headquarters can do a virtual examination, inspection of every hospital. Nobody will do. And you give it on a 3-year, 5-year contract to the local doctors. See, the local doctors have skill, they have knowledge, they have reach, they have, those kind of things. They don't have the capital to start a hospital. Why the government cannot say, okay, buddy, I will put up a Ayushman Bharat hospital, you run it. I will give you a 3-year contract, I will give you a 5-year contract. This is the rate beyond which you cannot charge. Now, the doctors would also want to earn a little more money. Give them the opportunity to set up a pathological laboratory on their own, a diagnostic center on their own, an ambulance service on their own, all these frills. But the basic service of, dealing with a pregnancy, delivery, basic, putting a stent in the heart, and those kind of things can be done much cheaper at that day. Why the center does not think of a partnership with its own people? Government of India, use a lot of slogans, but you trust your own people, your own population. You see, democracy is a government for the people, by the people, of the people. So we also have to participate in the administration of our country.
That's true. And I think these are all excellent suggestions. I think the basic fundamental thing that you mentioned, that there must be an efficient, all equipped hospital in every district of India. I think that is the basic fundamental requirement. Once that happens, and then I think this will start becoming more and more self-sustaining over a period of time. And I think that is the key. And in fact, this is the need of the day, thanks to Corona, because travel is going to be much, much harder. And the new normal is you want to decentralize everything. You want to go back to the way India was perhaps 200 years ago, living in its villages. You didn't have to come to the city to do anything. Everything happened in the villages. Perhaps that is the model we need to get back to. And I think this might be a way. I mean, this Corona is pointing us to that direction.
Yes.
Hopefully that the direction is something that the government will take. And Nandu, if you would like to add anything before we conclude this thing, please go ahead.
See, suppose the government were to start an Ayushman Bharat hospital across India. To start a 50-bed hospital would not cost more than 20-25 crores for the government at that level, if they were to do. They start 50 bed, then they start 100 bed, expand it to 100 bed, then they put 2 or 3 hospitals. If they have 3 hospitals in each district, they will be having approximately 2,500 their own hospitals. So the government's outflow on the Ayushman Bharat scheme also would be much lesser. That means with the X amount of money, they can treat more patients because the rates are all given. And secondly, some of the states which are politically opposed to center, they don't allow the Ayushman Bharat scheme to operate in that. So this is a way to enter and make the Ayushman Bharat scheme available to everybody. See, for example, Bengal doesn't allow, Delhi does not allow, Telangana does not allow Ayushman Bharat. So if center were to put 4 Ayushman Bharat hospitals in Hyderabad, and people go in there, so they become eligible to the scheme. And this is a backdoor entry for the center into each and every district. So this possibly can become, see, the Ayushman Bharat has to be blown into a national scale beneficial scheme, which it has a potential to do. And it possibly can become the largest healthcare scheme in the world, where the government will, have its own hospitals, Ayushman Bharat hospitals, very efficiently run by private people, but owned by government. Ownership should remain with the government. So I think this must be explored by the government very seriously. Otherwise, another crisis like this, we will be even more caught floundering.
Yes, indeed. And I think, I don't know what is the status of the Smart Cities initiative that was supposed to be, implemented now. That's one place where I think it's a logical thing to have an Ayushman hospital, because a smart city will have all the infrastructure, computer-wise and things like that, so that anything that you want to centralize, like data collection, to be able to get more accurate details about, coronavirus, for example, all those things will be in place. So thank you very much, Nandu. This was an excellent hangout. We covered a fair amount of useful information. We're not just pointing out the flaws or the problems, we're also suggesting solutions, which in my opinion is a good way to have a hangout. You express the problem and then you say, okay, here are the ways you can solve this thing.
I will use your channel to tell Prime Minister Modi that after direct transfer of benefit, which is made possible by the bank accounts which he opened, if he opens an Ayushman Bharat hospital in each of the districts in this country, that would be his biggest legacy.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Bye.